young women, it's not just good to just be fearless, because fearless has its place. It's also good, you gotta understand, to be courageous. Courageous is even more powerful than being fearless. Let me give you a quick story, but before I give you this story, being courageous sometimes means standing up for the right things and speaking up when everybody else is saying the total opposite. When you're the only one that's standing up for right and everybody else is standing up for wrong. When you have to make a tough decision in a pressure cooker situation, you know what I'm saying? Let me give y'all this story real quick. I was in high school, a senior in high school, hanging out with my cousin Tyrone and a few of our other friends on a Saturday night. I just signed with Baylor University. And, you know, we was hanging out, you know, doing teenage stuff, being fearless, racing down Valley Mills, Valley Mills Drive, you know, on Saturday night, just doing our thing, just being teenage boys. But that night, I said, I'm gonna take over the wheel, I'm gonna drive. I said, Tyrone, man, you driving too crazy, that's my cousin. And I started driving, and we was pulling up to drop one of our guys off that was sitting in the back. And before I dropped him off, I heard another kid in the back say, and I didn't know he had a gun on him. He said, man, hey man, I need to get some prom money. And prom is like 2 weeks away, man. I'm gonna rob that couple. I was like, what? You gonna rob what? I said, nah, you ain't doing that. And I stood up in a pressure cooker situation because the kid that they was trying to get to do it was Joe. And you could see Joe was compelled. He didn't want to do it, but they were like, do it, man, do it. You know, and Joe was like looking like this, and I was like, nah, Joe, don't do that. Because if we get in trouble, we go down, you being fearless, doing some stupid stuff, is gonna have me in trouble, and I could lose my scholarship to Baylor University, and all of our lives, the course of our lives can be changed. So I stood up, and I had the courage to stand up for the right reasons. I was like, hey, we ain't doing that. Let's go. And I'm glad I got behind the wheel that night. I jumped up, I turned back around, I said, let's go. And we just spent off. You know what I mean? And got out of there. And everybody was mad at me. Oh man, you big, you scary, man. Why you, man, we could've, but it's dumb, you know what I mean? The next day went by and we was back in, 2 days later on Monday, back in lunch. All the guys that were hanging out with me, they came up to me like, Dwight, man, we appreciate you for doing that. Because sometimes when you're in the heat of the moment, got that fearless mindset, you don't see everything. I saw the police officer 100 yards down the street in the cut that they didn't see. So sometimes, you know, to be courageous, you gotta be willing to stand up and make that right decision at the right time. And I would say this, I probably wouldn't be where I'm at today if I wouldn't have got behind the wheel and I would let my friend Joe, you know what I mean, rob that couple. But I would say this about Joe, and I'm not gonna say Joe's last name. Joe is a pastor to this day. Joe is a senior pastor of a church. And if he's listening, listen, man, we were kids, 17, 18 years old back then, but I'm glad that I stood up at the right time to keep all of us out of trouble, because our lives could have went a different course, man. So I just want to just say that, and some of you young boys that's listening to me, you got to be able to be courageous to make the right decision at the right time. Be blessed.